Good afternoon, and welcome to part two of a three-part series entitled Angels in Hell. We are exploring the topic of adversity and how to overcome it. And in order to do that, we have assembled three remarkable individuals who have gone through, let's call them trying times, and have managed to find, the cliched light within the darkness, something that all of us can learn from. Today, I'm honored to be speaking with Dr. Bill Silvers. How are you today, Doctor?
Very well, thank you. Appreciate it.
How's things in Denver?
Thank God it's beautiful weather today. And Denver, Colorado, colorful Colorado. Come visit sometime.
I love it there. I've been there a few times. Beautiful scenery, nice state. Thank you so much for joining us today for this important and I would say extra timely topic, considering what's going on in the world at the moment. For the Jewish people especially, there is no shortage of hellish moments to be going through, and simultaneously many opportunities for light to shine through all of that, and for heroism to emerge and strength and all kinds of great things. Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit. I just want to mention right before we jump into things that this series is inspired by a woman who actually has spent some time in Denver. Her name is Rebecca, and she's a person who is going through a very difficult set of circumstances herself. And there's a fundraising campaign that we've put together on her behalf. And if you go to the YouTube link, you can see in there's a way to contribute to her and hear more about her story. So I would encourage anyone watching to please take a moment and do that and help one person who really needs help now. So be the angel in her hell, and it will be a big help. So, okay, with that, Dr. Bill, can you, I've read about your story and we've spoken a little bit, but would you do the audience the favor of explaining what happened to you? Maybe a little bit about what your life was like before. I'm sure that everything is divided into a before and after, and then what happened?
So I will, I'll start by saying that I really define myself as a dedicated physician, a son of Holocaust survivors, and a committed Jew. And had a very lovely practice in Denver in allergy immunology, teaching as a clinical professor at the medical school, University of Colorado, having consult clinics in Vail, and had recently retired from private practice to continue teaching at the university. And it was in April 23rd, 2022, I went the last day of Passover to AISH, Denver. We have an AISH affiliate, Rabbi Meyer, very close to here. And my partner, Sarah, was in New York at a family wedding. So I went to shul last day of Passover, did Yizkor. And as I was leaving, I stopped at a friend of mine. And he said, finally, let me teach you how to play pickleball. I had played tennis with him for a number of years. So 10 minutes into the pickleball court, I ran for a shot at the net. And I tripped, given my new left knee replacement, and went into the top wire of the tennis net and hyperextended my neck and injured my C4, cervical 4 vertebra, further down 5, 6, 7. And I sustained a spinal cord injury. Medics took me to University of Colorado Hospital, and they cared for me there. From the emergency room to the neurosurgery ICU, where I spent a rather rocky month. The first couple of weeks were rather dicey. and and thereafter survived that, and I was transferred to Craig Hospital. I might say a couple of things about the initial injury, and that is that while I was initially at Craig, at the University Neurosurgery ICU, I finished up my will, estate plan, etc. And then I also had been working on an ethical will at the encouragement of the Rose Community Foundation here, um, which is one that you're allowed to share your life experiences, not just in your will, what you give up, your to your children, your philanthropy, etc., but how you became through your life, uh, and the lessons you learn and those that you wish to convey to others. And so for me, it was very meaningful because we were just finishing that up when I had my accident. And as I signed off on my estate plan will, the author who helped me write my ethical will, Nancy Sharp, came in. We finished up the ethical will, in which I, shared with others um, why and who I became, and I started that by saying that I have tried to live my life as a mensch. I've not always been successful, but I have certainly tried. And and then with that, uh, as I went into the surgery, quite honestly, I felt naki. I felt cleansed. I said, "Okay, God, whatever you have for me, I've tried to do the best that I could in the world." And Hineni, here I am. And fortunately, the surgery came through successfully. A few complications. Finally transferred to Craig Neurorehabilitation Hospital in Denver, superb hospital. Spent 2 months inpatient, a year outpatient. I continue to go back. And I think a few things that I'd like to pass on to your readership, and that is that Rabbi Meyer, who was my Rebbe at Aish, who really kind of brought me into the fold, I must tell you. My parents, being Holocaust survivors, were very secular. When they, after the war, they were able to arrange papers to come to America. Everybody else got off at New York and Chicago, and they said, "Where is Indianapolis?" Ended up in Indianapolis, greeted by a German Orthodox rabbi who had come over just before the war, and lived in Indianapolis. Um, and went to a high school, medical school, did my internship residency in Atlanta, then came back, and I ended up spending a year in Israel, helping start a national allergy clinic at the Hadassah in Kerem. Terrific, and thought about Aliyah, but it was my first failed Aliyah. It was just didn't work. This was 79, and came back. I was the emergency room in Aspen for a year, helped to start Friday night services at the Aspen Valley Hospital, believe it or not. And then went into practice in Vail, started a satellite clinic in Vail. But I had asked Rabbi Meyer, I said, "Rabbi, why? Why does this happen? Not why me, but why does this happen?" Other people have said, things happen, bad things happen, it's just the way it is. Rabbi Meyer gave me 3 thoughts. He said, number one, that the Almighty has a plan for each of us. Mm-hmm. We don't know what it is. We have active determination, but there's a plan for each of us. Number 2, there's the concept of atonement, past sins. So I said, Rob, I mean, believe me, I have not been an angel in my life, but I didn't think I was that bad.
Right.
And so then number three is the concept of as your body fails you, your neshama, your spirit has a chance to grow and to blossom. And that's your challenge, Dr. Bill, is what to do with the rest of your life now. And so I have tried to maintain that. And quite honestly, my my thought toward life is that as long as you're breathing, you have a chance to do good. I mean, with those around you, with whatever people you're involved with, that whatever your situation, you have a chance to do good. And so that's the way I think I would like to start this.
So, I mean, it sounds like you have maybe naturally a very good attitude towards difficult circumstances, to say the least. But let me take you back for a second, just for my own edification and for anyone who's listening, to understand a little bit more about the process of like how you get to where you are now. When you realized, I assume that the accident happened and you had trouble moving right from the get-go. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I was totally quadriplegic. And when I went to the neurosurgery ICU, all I could really do is shrug my shoulders, wiggle my arms a touch, and wiggle my toes. And when I found that I could wiggle my toes, I was thrilled, because that meant I had some neurologic communication, and I had a possibility of being able to walk, perhaps.
So before that, let's say you're lying on the pickleball court. What's going through your mind then?
It's interesting. I felt suspended. I mean, I was just suspended in midair. And a friend of mine had a spinal cord injury a number of years ago and kind of said the same thing. So I knew that I had injured myself severely. I didn't think that I was going to be quadriplegic for life after that. But I figured I might be able to come right out of this, you know. But I had a complication in that I had a vertebral artery thromboembolus, a blockage that they couldn't do surgery right away. So I had to wait for about 6 days. And so my recovery has been slower than I had hoped for. But, you know, I really, feel that, it's not a happenstance. I think that this is really a message from God, quite frankly, that I was running fast in my life and skiing, driving fast, having clinics in Denver, in Vail, in Aspen, doing research, teaching at the school. I was active. And God was probably saying, Bill, done a lot, slow down. And when he said slow down, it meant stop. And get it together, and then see what you want to do from that point.
Did you have any anger, any resentment? Like most people, I mean, I think this speaks very well of you as a human being and your spiritual level. But you know that most people would have rage, would have despair, would contemplate harming themselves, God forbid. But did you not have any moment of darkness as this is unfolding?
I have moments in the morning. Listen, in my thinking, this was not good. This was bad, but it's no Holocaust. And having parents who had been in the Holocaust, from Auschwitz to Dachau and the whole thing, and growing up within that fabric, having, referred many times to Viktor Frankl's book, man's search for meaning. I knew that this was no Holocaust, so come on, get it together and move forward. I mean, others have. So in the morning when I wake up and it's dark outside, then I'll, do Modeh Ani Lefanecha. I'll start it early and do the Shema and just kind of think through, what's the meaning of my life in the world. And I've tried to do a few good things along the way in addition to my practice and teaching. And that is when I'd spent, after my fellowship at National Jewish here in Denver, I had spent a year in Israel at the Hadassah, as I said. And when I came back into practice, I started a little Allergist for Israel endowment fund at the Allied Jewish Federation of Denver. And we had kiddushes at the Friday night allergy meetings. And that fortunately has evolved into quite an organization supporting training in Israel, education. And it's terrific. So I had a chance to do that. And then also about the year 2008, before that I had met this one German Catholic transcriber, reporter from the Nuremberg medical war crimes trial.
Wow.
She lived in Denver. And then there was an episode where there was a high school close to where she lived. Senior class was being taught history with Holocaust revisionism. And toward the end of their senior year, they told the parents, the Holocaust didn't happen. And this woman said, I was a witness to it, and I could tell you it did happen. So she became very active with the Holocaust Awareness Institute. And I began having her speak at hospitals on her at history at the Nuremberg medical war crimes trial. And from that, we, established a Holocaust contemporary bioethics program here at the University of Colorado, Center for Bioethics and Humanities. And that's simply more recently become a Holocaust genocide contemporary bioethics program, kind of globalizing it. We have a new director of the center, Matt Winia, who's absolutely terrific, committed supporters in Mark Levine, Jerry Lazarus, Lisa Culhane, Helen Morris, Howard Israel. I mean, really good people that were trying to, send the message to physicians in training, those in fellowship and in practice, and to hopefully let it go down to future generations so they understand how medicine can all too easily fall down the slippery slope as it did in German medicine when healers became killers. So those sorts of things have, as I've gotten my cognition better, those are the passions that I have to hopefully live forward. And so that makes me be able to deal better with my spasticity, with my, recurrent infections and blood pressure changes. I mean, this spinal cord injury is a real challenging world. And fortunately, we have this Craig Hospital here, as I have said, so I have good medical care. But it is a challenge. But then again, you look back, and as hard a challenge as it is, it ain't no Holocaust, where you understand the nature of that.
Of course, but first of all, I admire your approach, which I think is unusual, because a lot of people would view this as a personal Holocaust. They would say, sure, it's not 6 million murders, but at the same time, it happened to me, and that's my most immediate experience. But Rabbi Meyer said something interesting in the three things that he told you. And if you don't mind, let's focus on the third one for a second, which is the notion of sort of compromising the body in order to release the spirits. And that happens to be one of the goals of virtually every spiritual tradition on earth, right? Is to minimize the impact of the ego, for one thing, and of the physical body for another, because of the great sway that those things have over most people, right? So you rightly point out that this is an instance where you had no choice, really, and it was just sort of suddenly imposed upon you. So I understand that he said that to you. Is that something that you feel? Is there a kind of liberation that is possible to feel from not having to worry about your physical form as much as you might have in the past? And by worry, I don't mean that you don't have to take care of it constantly. I mean, it's not working 100%, and therefore, well, you tell me, have you felt more spiritual as a result of having your body compromised as it's been?
Well, let me tell you, I have felt that the faith has really held me through. I mean, if I wouldn't have the faith that there must be a message here, then life is futility, and why bother? But I do really feel that, for example, Sarah, my partner, my significant other, in the hospital early on, being overwhelmed by people calling in, put together a caring bridge, caringbridge.org, which people can post when those who have illness, injuries, can all be notified what's happening. And I had kind of used that caring bridge as a mouthpiece for how I feel, what I've been going through. As I was improving at Craig, and I was doing all these neurologic testings, and I would show pictures of all the electrodes on my back, on my body. So people lived through this with me. And now I continue to post about once a month, every 2 months, a little bit, since I'm now 3 years into this injury. And I try to give, insightful and uplifting messages. I end up saying that, despite all the challenges in our society, in our country, in our world, let us play a role, but, let us have a Nagila, have a tequila, go forth and choose life. And that's the message. I mean, you got to have a Nagila, if you need, have a tequila and or a fine caramel wine, little Slivovitz along the way.
Good stuff, yeah.
And go forth and do good. I mean, as much as one can. So I'd like to show you, a friend of mine put together a T-shirt for me, and it has a helper here that can help out. She put together a T-shirt for me that says Supermensch Man, and I wear it a lot. I didn't wear it today, but I haven't. And and so the Nancy Sharp gave me the author who helped me with the ethical will, gave me a bunch of bracelets that says "Be a Mensch." And as I said, I tried to be a mensch and such. And it gives me an opportunity to relate to those Jewish and especially not Jewish about trying to be a mensch,
Mhm.
a person of morality, dignity, upstanding, etc. Not that I claim to be, but I have certainly tried, and so I'll put that out encouraging other people.
So, first of all, I love that initiative, and I would like a T-shirt if I could get one. But let's expand this. Um, Many people, myself included, probably anyone watching now, most people in the world go through much less than you and have a much worse attitude about it. Um, Truth be told, but like even just like yesterday, I was having some minor challenges and felt myself being, very perturbed by them, and trying to like maintain a sense of keeping it in perspective, and um, knowing especially that we're going to have this discussion today. But what advice can you give to regular people who have people speak to them in a way that they don't like, who lose a little bit of money here and there that they weren't expecting, who have challenges in the workplace or in relationships, and they feel lousy as a result? It's like this cloud that hangs over them, and it compromises the quality of their lives. And objectively, we would say, most people would say it's not, because some of it could be big, but most of it's not. What would you tell to somebody who is just having a generally hard time, but nothing catastrophic is going on?
Take a look around. There are people much worse off than you may find yourself. And it's not to be envious of those that seem to be doing better than you. It's a matter of the path that you've chosen, that God has given the opportunity for. And my view is that as long as you're breathing, then you have a chance to move forth and to do good. And I think that one just needs to appreciate who we are, the time that we live in,
Mhm.
and feel fortunate in that regard. I mean, look at what's happening. I kind of look back based on resilience from the Holocaust, my parents' history. I feel very strongly that we have a role to play, in our world and with those around us. And what's happening now in Israel, with the enemies around, in Iran, etc. I mean, there's a lot to be thankful for. If it's a tough day or a tough number of days, might as well just, answer it. And there's a saying that when you're faced with a decision, make that decision as wisely as possible. Then forget it. For the moment of absolute certainty never arrives. So this sort of a thing. So I think that it's just you just gotta this too shall pass, and this is passing in a different way. So quite honestly, yum, you got to appreciate every single day, because you just don't know when a pickleball injury is going to get to you or anything else. So I think when I hear the Hebrew yum, I understand it better now.
Um, I want to just open it up if in case anybody has a question that I haven't posed. Feel free to post it, and we will get it answered. In the meantime, let's focus on the current events that you just brought up for one more second. As we're speaking, Israel is engaged in, I would say, preventing another Holocaust. Not everybody sees it that way. Millions of Jews are hunkering down in bomb shelters. Some have been killed. Certainly, a lot of are scared. At the same time, you see a lot of life shining through as a result of that. I've seen videos of people in their shelters celebrating being alive, singing, dancing, um, supporting each other, and generally making the best of a crazy situation. It's not so often that hypersonic missiles are landing, around you. Although, unfortunately, Israelis have gotten used to things like this for way too long. Um, but do you think there is this interesting stat, which is despite everything, Israel has one of the highest ranking happiness indexes in the developed world, in the world. And one would think it would be the opposite, right? With under constant threats and having to fight all the time. So do you see a correlation between the pressure that's brought upon them and that's the ability of that pressure to force out the best in people?
I think myself, I view Israel as a miracle right now. I think after 2,000 years and the Holocaust and the sacrifices made in 1948 and beyond to bring together a Jewish nation under our own sovereignty, that this is a miracle that I think underlying unites a lot of people. I mean, there will be kvetchers, and there have always been, the machers and the schleppers, this sort of a thing. But I think that we are really very fortunate to have, our own country after 2,000 years. And quite honestly, I believe that it's an experiment still. There are a lot of odds against us. And at the same time, right now, I think we're testing our American democracy, and we'll see how we come out here. So, if you don't believe in miracles, then you don't believe in Israel. I really need to believe that after 2,000 years, we really need to, this is fragile and precious. And I feel that we have leaders that, as dysfunctional as the government system may be, that the leaders will, lead us as best we can.
Right. I hope so. It's interesting times all around. But I want to just take a moment to thank you for speaking with me today. And also for your story and how you handled your situation, which I think is extremely inspiring. You were doing inspiring things before it happened, and the fact that you continue to is all the more so inspirational. So, thank you.
If I could, let me just throw out a few other things.
Please.
I kind of define myself now as an intergenerational. I used to use the word transgenerational, but I've decided to make it intergenerational now. An intergenerational, post-Holocaust, epigenetic PTSD, causing me to be a paranoid Jew, especially because of the Holocaust sensitization. And the epigenetic, let me elaborate on that, because they've been able to show that Holocaust survivors and children of Holocaust survivors, have a different expression of their genes that are turned on versus the children of American Jewish parents, grandparents that were not in the Holocaust. So there's a certain genetic marker and stimulation that opens it up. It opens up the genes that are already there, but it sensitizes them and it opens up. And I think that epigenetic stimulation is part of what's held the Jews together for 2,000 years. And so I think that that will be one that will continue to hold us together. And I am really appreciative to yourself, to Aish for bringing this forward, to the leaders of our Jewish people for, in Israel, in America, in the world, for keeping us going forward. I just attended at Aish with Rabbi Meyer the Discovery Seminar, which I had been to before. It's always used to it's always good for a repeat. But that you don't see the Babylonians, the Assyrians, the Romans, the Greeks, etc. And the Jews continued despite not having a homeland for so long, etc. So that Judaism will continue, into the future, Bezrat Hashem, that we have right now a Judaism with our own country that we really need to, protect, preserve, do everything that we can, have ahava and havara, love, and bring our people together as best we can. And in the disability world, this is, I've spent my life, caring for patients, teaching, etc. But at this point in life, I'm hoping to contribute as I can to the disability world. And I will tell you, I hadn't previously, but now I wear my kippah, not only at home, but I wear it out also. Let people know that there are Jews among us here in America. Why not? Anybody wants to pick a fight with me in a wheelchair, hineni, go for it. But I think it's important to stand forth and let's, participate actively, defending ourselves. But I think that groups like you who are putting out these kinds of messages to try and reach people and share, I'm very appreciative. So I thank Hashem, I thank Rabbi Meyer, Aish. I have met Rabbi Weinberg along the way, magnificent. And I thank yourself, Adam, for encouraging this sort of an interaction. I hope it's been helpful.
It has been. It's going to be posted on YouTube, and people will be able to access it indefinitely. And God willing, a lot of people will benefit from it, as I have. So thank you again. Am Yisrael Chai, and keep on being a mensch. And hope to be able to speak to you again in the not too distant future.
Amen v'amen.
Okay. Have a good afternoon.
Shalom.